Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
A great shot of Ochoa celebrating.
Okay, can we for a moment talk about how terrible of a person he is? That he eats apple pie in America and like his grandmother. Just the worst human being I've ever seen on a soccer field.
And such a punchable face.
I mean, Luis Suarez bit a guy twice and is still not as bad as David Ochoa.
Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
2 new signings, gentlemen. Ben Sweat wants to shake the stink of 2 terrible expansion teams off of him. Uri Rosell is here to return to his former glory. We got new signings to talk about. The silly season in full effect. Thad Bell has not arrived yet. He is late. I'm hoping it will be a surprise when he joins in here and we can roast him whenever he does. So yes, Robert and Chad are here with me. What's going on, gentlemen?
Cody, you've been working on your intro game, apparently. That was good.
Wait,
yeah, I'm happy that you mentioned, who we are and maybe that we're worked for the BlueTestament.com, something like that.
There you go.
Insert a fad joke right here, on your puns.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that I worked on it in the time where I literally just hit record and started talking. All right, now I know how to do it from here on out.
Subconsciously, I meant. Your brain was thinking about it.
So let's start with Ben Sweat. How about that? Ben Sweat, 2020 started with Inter Miami, terrible there. Well, he wasn't terrible, but the team was terrible. And then this year with Austin FC, just as abysmal, actually more abysmal than Inter Miami's first year. So I saw the highlight reel, and I must admit I didn't follow each of these teams closely those last 2 years, so I'm not all that familiar with this guy. But it sounds, left back or an outside back at least, sounds like a much needed position. Cool highlight reel. Good job, Sporting KC media team. It looked good to me. He's going to be great according to this highlight reel I've seen.
I will defend his involvement with Austin FC. He played a whopping 2 games for 93 minutes before he tore his ACL and missed the entire season. So you can't blame him for that. Our old friend Matt Beasler might get some blame, but not Ben, I don't think.
That would be why there was no highlights of Austin FC in that highlight reel. It makes sense now.
But haven't we dropped other players coming off of injuries? Jimmy Medranda, others we could mention, and now we're picking up a guy who's just coming off an ACL. Okay.
Yeah, a guy coming off an ACL, and we've returned to the great Sporting KC free agent experiment, which has failed, which has also failed miserably in the past. So we'll see. And so I guess, am I taking that you're not very enthused by this, Robert? You don't seem enlightened.
Well, eventually someone's going to make the point that is obvious here. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to remain optimistic that, hey, he's got some size, got some MLS experience. Those are two good things. And he's a left back, and, we need one. Right now, anybody is better than nothing, or is it?
Okay, Chad. So what's the obvious angle that Bob is staying away from here that I'm actually not even aware of? I don't know what the obvious one is.
I'm not sure I know what the obvious angle is either. I would just say, I'm glad that they have somebody, right? You got to have a left back. Arguably, you need at least two left backs, right? I had two last year, 5 fullbacks on the roster last year. So got to have somebody. Maybe he'll be a contributor. I guess the real debate is he the guy? And are they going to sign somebody else to play left back and compete with him or in front of him? And he's just that quality depth that Vermes will actually trust to maybe go to his bench versus, well, I'm just making jokes now at this point, but he might actually feel more confident if he's got some veterans backing guys up versus last year. It was 10 homegrowns, and he used them sparingly outside of, obviously the stars.
One difference in these free agent signings is age, right? At least off the top of my head, it seems like the past free agent signings have been on the wrong side of 30, and even beyond that. Justin Mapp, I know, was on the older side. So and both, it's 29. Uri's 29, incredibly, because he played for us like a decade ago. So that's amazing that he's only 29. And Ben Sweat is 30. So I suppose that could be a difference to some of these past experiments. But yes, I think they're going to come in as veteran presences. And that was my first question upon hearing about Ben Sweat is is he sliding in above Dia? Where does this, I don't even know, where does this fit in? I guess that's what Vermes likes, though, is the competition for positions all over the field.
Yeah, and he's got himself security. I'm sure there's going to be another left back signing or promoted somewhere. He's got security of a guy who has MLS experience. Hopefully, he's recovered well from his ACL, obviously, but he's got that security blanket, which you need.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like, he's probably better than Dia, right? If you look at their career trajectories and how much time he's played in MLS versus, Dia really kind of had that time at Sporting the first time around and the late run in 2020 before he basically didn't see the field at all in 2021. So it would seem to be an upgrade over that, presuming that he is healthy. At least he tore his ACL almost a year ago, 2 games into the season. So, the season will start 10 months or so after that. He should be hopefully closer to recovered, but it takes a while to come back from a knee injury sometimes. So I don't know.
He'll get recovered from the injury and then have a positive COVID test and not be able to play. So
I think we're in for a lot of those this year, probably.
Yes.
So how do you guys look at this part of it? He's drafted by the Crew. Okay. He ends up catching the eye of NYCFC. He gets on with them, and then he's drafted by Inter Miami in the expansion draft, and then Austin trades for him before their inaugural season. He's been in need. He's been wanted. Is that the way you look at it? Or you're like, oh God, he can't even stick at one place?
I would say in demand, right? The fact he was the first pick of Miami in the expansion draft, and I think there's something to be said for picking domestic players, right? The domestic players maybe at times undervalued in MLS, and you only have 8 international slots and however many green cards you can muster. So everybody can't be an international. Sporting only has 2 open international spots left. If they were to use one, do you really want them to use one on a left back, or would you rather use it on a different position? Yeah, I was surprised when Martins was the international left back for all those years. So
I'm optimistic about this signing. He seems to me like one of those guys that Vermes is just going to get the best out of. It seems like it's a signing. Vermes likes signing guys that fit into his system and have that mentality. And he strikes me as one of these players that is just going to, he's veteran, he's smart, he's been around the league, he's going to know what his role is, and he's going to be able to do that job, or at least that's the hope. He's going to know what the role is. If he can do that job, then he's going to see the field. And yeah, I'm optimistic. He seems like one of those guys that is going to work for Vermes or can catch on, one of Vermes's projects, I guess.
Now, this is a question that maybe, we'd be better ask if Thad or maybe even Dave were here, but the under 22 initiative, is that a player that can be an international that doesn't count or doesn't take an international slot or not?
It still does take up an international slot.
Okay.
Really, the only thing that it helps with is you kind of have unlimited acquisition costs. So it's kind of like a designated player, but the caveat is they can't make any more than the league maximum, which somewhere around 650,000 a year. I'd have to look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, so it would take a slot. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
but you don't have to buy international players with that too, because they talked about. I saw in Garber's State of the League address, he talked about, and I'll forget the number off the top of my head, 40 plus U22 players, and I definitely did not hear 40 plus signings being announced. So I have a strong feeling there were guys around MLS that were making more than the number that the salary would show up as in the budget, and they were allocating them that way. And I know that in Vermes's final press conference here, he said he made a new offer to Buzio, but he did want to go abroad and play internationally. So he would have inevitably been in that U22 slot if they'd have kept him around.
I am excited. Yuri's back, man. It seems like we have been, I know Ilya finally filled the role, but Uri was the one. We were on this long search for someone to fill the role that Uri finally did in Vermes's system, the impossible defensive midfielder, the unforgiving defensive midfielder role, the holding midfielder role. And yeah, I'm very happy to see him back, but he hasn't done much in his absence and hasn't done much with teams that haven't done much, which is a concern for me.
Well, I mean, the thing in his last team in Orlando City, they got a new coach brought in his players, and he was kind of on the outs in that way. So maybe not his fault there, because he was starting and doing pretty well up to then.
Yeah, I was surprised to see he played 4 years in Orlando City. Like, I didn't realize it had been so long that he had been in Orlando.
Yes, that was my same reaction as well. Did he get hurt in any of this? Have there been injuries along the way? Because that was a concern, or at least that final year, or maybe not even the final year, at least the 2013 playoff stretch, at least there was an injury concern with him. So
yes, according to Transfer Market, which is sometimes not super reliable on this stuff, he did have quite a few injuries. Maybe this is something of concern. It has a knee injury in 18, muscle injury in 19, leg injuries in the last 2 seasons. So combined, it's not that many games, but still.
Yeah, that's what my memory of his time in Orlando was, is injury filled.
Yeah, and my memory, I remember him being a player that I really liked, but as far as his intricacies of his play, I don't remember a whole lot of them. He's a good tackler, yeah, but is he Ilya's level on passing? Where does he fit in that area? His pace, don't remember him having much. So, it's jury out, obviously. We'll see how it goes.
Ilya doesn't have the pace either. But that's my memory would be maybe the passing isn't as strong as what Ilya is capable of. But no, I think every other aspect of what is required from that holding midfielder role, Uri, at least at the time, was doing brilliantly. It was, spatial awareness, filling in passing lanes. And the thing I remember about him, and this is what, whenever I felt this with Ilya, was like, oh my God, we found our guy, because I haven't felt this since Uri, was just there a calming sense when the ball comes to him. Something frantic might be happening in our defensive final third, or, in our defensive half. And I just remember if the ball fell to him, it was just like, oh, okay, we're going to be fine. He's going to figure out how to get out of that or make the right pass or something like that. So I do have very fond memories of his time here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the heart of it is the only full season he wins the MLS Cup, right? Like, I know he got hurt in that game, but that's there's a
mystique around it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, I don't recall 100%, but I feel like you don't go through Barcelona and not learn how to pass, right? Like, he's got to know how to pass.
Yeah. I mean, I felt the way you did Cody about Ilya more so than I have anybody as far as calmness on the ball and
Yeah.
getting out of stuff. But no, when he went down in MLS Cup, I was like, at that moment, I was like, oh, we're done for without Uri in there.
Yeah.
So.
I like 100%. That's when I'm thinking about how important he was to that team, that's the moment I go to, because it was just that was, everyone felt like that. The most confident positive Sporting KC fan that there could be. Uri went down that game, and it's just like, well, we're not gonna be able to do anything. This just isn't gonna work. Like it was just such a gross game already, and you just needed that role filled in a game like that, and it just seemed like no way can we do this.
But Mr. Oldham stepped up for us, so
that's right. Oh my God, what a time that was.
Speaking of guys that come and go from Sporting Kansas City, right? Lawrence Olam.
Lawrence Olam was a vibe.
No, but I mean, the obvious point I was talking about early on was, these acquisitions of Ben and Uri will be looked at in the context of who we get after, in the transfer market or whatever it is, to see exactly where their role is going to be and if they're a depth piece or if they're the man or what. So we won't be able to judge these really until then.
True that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because right now, I don't even know if Uri's the starter, right? Is it Jose Maury starting at defensive midfielder?
Right.
Remy, Voltaire moving back there again? Who knows? I think it's probably Maury and Rosell fighting out for that spot, but I don't know.
Robert, we're doing a podcast here. We're sports talking heads. We are literally supposed to judge these right now without waiting. We're
gonna
not
be reactionary. Well, I don't like it because there's not enough speed here. These guys are too old. I didn't want to be Mr. Negative.
Raising the average age of the team.
Yeah, it is an old team. That is for sure. They do have to get younger. I will say on the whole free agent thing, because there's not a long history of free agency in MLS. We do want to keep in mind that the rules of free agency have changed, right? You can become a free agent at a younger age. You can become a free agent with less tenure. I want to say when we were signing all those other guys, you had to be at least 8 years in MLS, not 8 years of playing, but 8 years in the league, which is pretty limiting, because if you went to college, which many of those guys did back there, they're coming out at 22, 23. And then, so 8 years, they're in their 30s automatically. That said, these two are pushing 30, but they're slightly younger because the minimums are now 5 years, although Uri would meet the 8-year requirement, I believe, or maybe he'd be a year short. And then, so it's a little bit different. You can be a little younger, you can have a little less experience. There's going to be some homegrowns in a few years that are hitting it. They'll have the league numbers covered, but I think the age minimum might be 24, 25. So, they won't quite meet that.
Yeah, the initial free agency was stepping up your Italian game, going to Olive Garden. That was a step up. So that's kind of what the initial free agent market was.
Yeah, you had that first year, as a free agent. In order to be a free agent, you had to play in the league for 10 years and be with one team for 7 or something like that. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
remember how excited we were when it was Justin Mapp was the first free agent? I can remember Heineman going crazy, thinking this is going to be the guy. And he technically is the most successful player, in free agent history, with his 7 appearances for, 40 minutes or whatever.
Wait,
it's nothing.
In club history.
Wasn't Brad Davis a little more successful than that?
Brad Davis was a trade, so he is technically not a free agent.
He was a trade? He wasn't a free agent? Okay.
No, he was a trade. The only free agents, I believe, I got this from Mike, so if it's wrong, we blame Kuhn over there. So it's Justin Mapp, Brad Evans, and Rodney Wallace. That's it.
Brad Evans, yeah. Okay.
The other Brad, that's what you were thinking of.
Maybe.
And all his
That's
0
a fine.
minutes
That's
played.
a fine. Robert said the wrong Brad. That's $1. Okay, so let's just end this conversation with the question of what is next? What else is needed? Vermes needs to sign what position for Robert to be happy this offseason?
Well, look at my wish list article. Left back, we need a frontline attacker.
Another left back? We just got a left back, right?
Yeah, but this can't be it, right? Come on.
That's fair.
Whether it's a young one with strong potential or something else, we need more depth at left back for sure.
But on an MLS roster, I'm going to derail it here for a second. On an MLS roster, just the way teams are built, roster limitations and all of that, we are not an MLS team is simply not going to be as well rounded as other teams.
Oh, I agree.
Around the world. And it seems to me like left back and right back is the position that MLS teams are just like, yeah, we'll spend $10 million on a striker, and our left back is going to make $75,000 a year.
Yeah, but when you play a 4-3-3 that Vermes does, it depends on those wide backs so much. It can't be just anybody.
Right.
Yeah, and you got to think, Ilya was making $1 million. So if Uri's coming back around his prior salary, they're saving half that. Martins was making 340. Ben Sweat's making 250 last year. So he's less than Martins, but more than Dia. Dia was at 135. So it's like there's wiggle room in there to add money. Not to mention Roger may or may not come back. That's another $500,000. If Zusi comes back, you got to think it's going to be at less than 700 plus that he was making. There should be money to wiggle, plus all that Buzio money. You get, I think $1 million of that can be converted to GAM, so you can use that to buy down players, allocation money.
Jalen Lindsay money too.
Yep.
Yeah. And is the Rosell signing, is it a sign that maybe Roger isn't coming back, do you think? Or is just, hey, he's available, let's jump on it?
To me, they're different players, like different players, different positions.
They are
right?
Roger
sure. Played D-mid last year in an emergency situation, but other than that, he couldn't stay in position. He was roaming up the field and things like that. But Uri, could he step forward and play that 8? Maybe, potentially. I don't think that's his best spot, obviously. I think we all know that, but like maybe you don't need it. I think there's 4 quality midfielders at those 8 spots between Kinda, Voltaire, Duke, and Hernandez, assuming he comes off of his suspension.
Meaning that you think Sporting needs to sign what?
Oh, and now you're going back to your question you asked Robert. Gosh, well, they need a lot of things, much like Robert's article said, right? They'll probably add a midfielder. They always add. You never have enough midfielders, right? You need a left back and a right back still, because Zusi isn't under contract right now, and Caden Pierre has exactly 0 MLS minutes. And then I think, like, low key, you need another attacking player. Like, they're one injury away from, if Shallowy or Russell go out, you could put Shelton on either wing, sure, and he can play backup center forward, and he probably is the backup center forward, but like, you need another winger at least, right? Shelton can go in the middle, Kinda can go in the middle. I need an attacking winger that can spell those guys if they're cold, push them to, like, hey, you're not playing great, let's get you off the field, rest them. There was no threats to score goals off the bench other than maybe like Cam Duke in the midfield, who had a handful of minutes. Need some attacking depth.
I mean, the way you're addressing it, Chad, maybe I'm misreading it. You seem to be a little nonchalant about it, but if they're going to drop money, it needs to be on a frontline attacker. It has to be. That's the where you got to go.
That's where you spend your money.
Yeah, it's got to be there.
Robert, I'm still waiting on you to Venmo me.
You're going to be waiting a while, son.
Don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team.